The new LESO, the Galactic Academy, floated silently in the orbit of a red star, far from any homeworld. It was a place where young cadets from dozens of species came to learn the art of war. The Academy was known across the stars as the best training ground for future soldiers, diplomats, and strategists. Inside a large lecture hall, hundreds of students sat in rows. Their shapes and colors were different. Some had wings, others had shells, and a few even floated instead of walking. They all wore the same academy uniform and listened closely as the instructor entered the room. The instructor was tall and gray-skinned, with deep lines on his face that showed age and wisdom. His name was Kor, and everyone respected him. He had fought in 4 wars and trained many commanders. When he spoke, people listened. Kor walked to the front of the hall and stood behind the glowing table. "Today," he said, his voice deep and clear, "we begin a new subject, the history of humanity." A quiet murmur spread across the room. Some students turned to each other in surprise. Humanity was a strange topic. Everyone had heard of humans, of course, but not much was ever taught about them. Most only knew one thing: humans were banned from joining any intergalactic war. A blue-skinned student raised his hand. "Instructor Kor, is it true humans used to fight with us in wars?" Kor nodded. "Yes, long ago humans were part of the Allied forces. But that ended. The Council banned them." Another student, a small reptilian with bright yellow eyes, leaned forward. "Why were they banned? What did they do?" Kor paused. His expression changed slightly, as if he were remembering something unpleasant. "You will learn," he said. "Slowly, but not today. This history must be told carefully." The students groaned. They wanted answers now. But Kor ignored them and began the lesson. Across the hall, sitting near the back, was a young human named Lena. She was not a soldier. She had come to the academy as a cultural observer. Her job was to study alien traditions and learn how the galaxy worked. She wore a small badge that showed she was not part of the military training program. Most of the students ignored Lena. A few gave her strange looks, but she never caused trouble. She kept to herself, always quiet, always watching. Now, as Kor spoke about humans, some heads turned toward her. But Lena didn't react. She sat still, eyes fixed on the instructor, her face calm. Kor continued. "Humans were once allies. They fought bravely, often leading missions others feared. They were fast learners, creative thinkers, and deeply loyal to their team. But something happened. After the last major conflict, they were removed." "Removed? How?" asked a student from the 3rd row. "Banned by vote of the Council," Kor said. "No human has set foot on a battlefield since." "Did they betray us?" someone whispered. "Were they defeated?" asked another. Kor raised his hand. "No more questions. The story will unfold in time." When the lecture ended, the students left the hall in small groups, talking to each other in hushed tones. "Maybe humans use some forbidden weapon," one said. "I heard they tried to take over command," said another. "I think they just went crazy," a third muttered. Torin, a young cadet with orange skin and sharp eyes, didn't speak. He was curious. He'd always liked old history files, and this mystery about humans caught his attention. As he walked out, he looked back and saw Lena still sitting in her seat. She was staring down at the desk in front of her, deep in thought. That night in the academy dorms, Torin opened his personal tablet and searched for anything about the human ban. Most files were restricted. Others were blank. A few short documents said only that humans had been retired from active duty by vote of the High Council due to incompatibility with modern warfare ethics. That didn't explain much. He clicked on a small video file labeled Joint Operations. Year 4719. The screen showed a team of mixed-species soldiers entering a ruined city on a desert world. Among them were humans, clearly leading the charge. They moved quickly, giving orders, helping others, and finding enemies before they appeared. Then, the video ended. No details, no conclusion. Torin frowned. He tapped the screen again. A warning popped up. Further access requires level 9 clearance. He didn't have that dot across the hall. In her private room, Lena sat at her desk. A message blinked on her. Screen from Earth's diplomatic division. It read, "Do not discuss the past. The truth is not ready to be told." She closed the message and stared out the window. Stars twinkled across the black sky, and the red star below the academy gave off a soft glow. She whispered to herself, "They'll find out soon, whether they're ready or not." The next morning, the class gathered again. Core entered, silent. As always. This time, he looked tired. He walked to the front and said just one thing. "Today, we discuss the beginning of the end. The last battle humans ever fought in." The room went silent. Lena slowly looked up. The truth was about to begin. Digging into the PSD, the lecture hall was quiet, but the air felt heavy with tension. Everyone was waiting to hear more about the last battle humans ever fought. Core stood still at the front. His eyes moved slowly across the room, pausing for a moment. When they reached Lena, she didn't look away. Finally, Core spoke. Year 4721. Planet Velros 9. A war had been raging for 16 years. Every species in the Alliance was involved. The enemy was known only as the Varn, strong, ruthless, silent. They destroyed entire colonies without warning. The students leaned forward. Most of them had heard of the Varn. None of them knew the full story. The Varn had a fortress on Velros 9. It was believed to be their command center. The Alliance sent everything they had to destroy it. That battle was called Operation Silent Storm. Torin's ears perked up. He remembered seeing that name in the restricted files. "Who led the attack?" asked a student. Core nodded. "A mixed species squad, but humans made up the core. They were chosen for their fast thinking, courage, and something else. Something. Not in the records." A quiet murmur moved through the class again. "Did they win?" Someone asked. "Yes," Core said. "They won, completely. But after that day, humans were banned." Now everyone was confused. How could winning a battle lead to a ban? Core didn't answer that question. Instead, he pressed a button on the table, and a hologram appeared. It showed a wide desert landscape with a black fortress in the distance. "This," he said, "is the only footage we have of the mission." Figures appeared, soldiers of different species. In the center of the group were 3 humans. Their faces were calm, focused. One raised a hand, made a signal, and the entire group moved quickly across the sand. Explosions hit the ground near them, but they didn't slow down. A second video played. This one was from inside the fortress. The Varn, dark and armored, were preparing for a fight. Then silence. The footage ended. "What happened next?" Torin asked. Core looked at the floor. "That part is lost or locked, but we won." Another student asked again. Core gave a slow nod. Yes, the fortress was destroyed. The Varn surrendered, not just there, but everywhere. In less than 1 day, the war ended. Gasps filled the room. "In 1 day?" A student repeated. "How is that possible?" "No one knows," Core said. "The reports were vague." The council met shortly after and voted to ban humans from all future wars. Someone in the back scoffed. "That makes no sense. Why punish a victory?" Core looked directly at Lena. Some victories come at a price. Later that evening, the dorm halls buzzed with energy. Everyone had an opinion. Some students thought humans used a secret weapon. Others believed the Varn had been tricked or blackmailed. A few said humans had done something so terrible, the council had no choice. Torin couldn't let it go. He returned to his room, turned on his tablet, and tried again to access more files. He typed in Operation Silent Storm. A warning flashed again. Restricted. Level 9 clearance required. He sighed and leaned back in his chair. Just then, he received a message on his screen. No sender name. You want to know what happened? Meet me at the East Observation Deck. Alone. Torrin stared at the message for a few seconds. Then he stood up. The observation deck was quiet and cold. A glass wall stretched across the entire side of the room, showing stars and the red glow of the nearby sun. Lena stood near the window. Arms crossed, Torrin stepped forward carefully. You sent the message? She nodded. You were there, weren't you? He asked. Or you know someone who was? I know the truth, she said. But it's not easy to explain. Try me. Lena took a deep breath. The humans didn't use bombs. They didn't use poison or machines. They used something else. Something only humans have. Torrin frowned. Like a mental weapon? Not a weapon, she said. Not at first. It's part of what we are. A deep emotional ability. Something that connects us to others in ways most species can't understand. He blinked. You're saying emotions? Yes, she said. But not just feelings. It's deeper. In the middle of the battle, one of our captains connected with a Varn commander, not with words. With something stronger. He made the Varn feel everything, our pain, our fear, our memories. They saw our history, our love, our loss, everything. Torrin shook his head slowly, trying to make sense of it. That's why the war ended, Lena said. The Varn couldn't take it. Their minds weren't built for that kind of connection. It broke them. He looked shocked. But how? That doesn't sound possible. It's not something we can fully control, Lena said. It only happens in rare moments, but when it does, it changes everything. Torrin stepped back. That's why the Council banned humans. Not because they were dangerous with weapons, but because they were dangerous without them, Lena nodded. They were afraid, not just of what we did to the Varn, but what we might do to others. What happens when one species can reach inside the minds of others and change them forever? The room fell silent. Only the hum of the Academy's systems could be heard. Finally, Lena spoke again. You wanted the truth. Now you have it. Back in his room, Torrin sat in silence. He stared out his window at the stars and thought about everything Lena had said. He understood now. Humans weren't banned because they lost control. They were banned because they had too much of it, and the galaxy had no idea what to do with a species that could win a war. By feeling the hidden, HFY Torrin couldn't sleep. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling of his room inside the Galactic Academy. Lena's words kept repeating in his head. They didn't use weapons. They made the enemy feel everything. It sounded impossible. Yet something about it felt true. The humans had always been a mystery to the rest of the galaxy. And if even half of what Lena said was real, it meant humans had a power no one else understood. Torrin sat up and turned on his tablet again. This time, he didn't search the regular files. He opened a private program he had built for fun, a tool that helped dig deeper into the Academy's system. It couldn't break full security, but sometimes it found files others missed. He typed in one phrase, Operation Silent Storm, hidden logs. After a few minutes of loading, a single result popped up. The file was labeled Archive D47, Human Contact Field Report. It was locked, of course, but this one had lower security than the others. Torrin tried a few old codes he had saved from system bugs. On the third try, it worked. The file opened. The report was old. The text was shaky and parts of it were damaged. But the name of the writer was still clear. Commander Rel, Velros 9 Frontline Unit. Torrin read the words carefully. The humans arrived on day 3 of the siege. They didn't speak much. The one in charge, Captain Elias, asked only for a map of the Varn fortress. When I asked about his plan, he said, We'll show them who we are. We gave the humans their own unit and expected them to fight like everyone else, but they didn't fire a single weapon. Not one. They walked into the battlefield. Calmly, the Varns saw them and attacked. But something strange happened. The Varns stopped. They froze. One human stood at the front and lifted his hand. Then the Varn dropped their weapons. Some fell to the ground and cried. I saw one rip off his armor and scream. It was like they had seen something, or felt something. That shattered their minds. After that, the Varn retreated, everywhere. Not just here, across the galaxy. The war was over in one day. I don't know what the humans did, but I am afraid of them. Truly afraid. Please, do not let them return. Torin stared at the screen, heart pounding. This wasn't just a story. It was a witness report. A real account of what happened that day. The next morning, Torin met Lena outside the mess hall. I read the file, he said. She looked at him calmly. Then now you understand. I understand that people are afraid of you, he said. But not because you're evil, because you're too different. Lena nodded. That's always been the problem. Why was that report hidden? Because if the galaxy knew the truth, it would create more fear. Or worse, it might tempt others to try and use us again. But the war ended, Torin said. That should be a good thing. Lena looked away. Not everyone sees peace as victory. Some see it as control. The Council believed that if humans could stop a war without weapons, they could control everything. Governments, armies, cultures. Torin was quiet for a moment. That's why they banned you. Yes, but now things are changing. People are asking questions again. I know, Lena said. And that's why I'm here. Later that day, the Academy students returned to the lecture hall. Kor stood at the front again. This time, he looked more serious than ever. I know you've all been searching for answers, he said. Some of you have accessed files you shouldn't have. Many students glanced around nervously. Torin kept a straight face. I will not punish you, Kor continued, because the truth is important. It must be understood, even if it is dangerous. He pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared. It showed the Varn Council, long ago, surrendering to a human diplomat. The Varn leader, shaking, said one sentence. We have seen what you are. We cannot bear it. We surrender not to your strength, but to your soul. Gasps filled the room. Kor turned to face the class. This is why humans were banned, not for war crimes, not for betrayal, but because their greatest weapon was never a weapon at all. It was their humanity. A silence spread over the students. The war had not been won by guns, ships, or armies. It had been ended by something no strategy could stop. Empathy turned into power. That evening, Kor invited Lena and Torin to his private office. You both know more now than most in the galaxy, he said. And soon, the Council will have to decide if humans should be allowed back into intergalactic affairs. Do you think they will? Lena asked. Kor sighed. I don't know. But if they do, we must be sure it's for the right reason. Not fear, not desperation, but understanding. Torin looked at both of them. What if another war starts? One even worse than before. Kor looked out the window at the stars. Then the galaxy will remember the one species who ended a war without firing a shot. And they will ask themselves, are we ready to feel again? The test of Turusti, the sun over the Academy world, glowed red behind the glass dome of the training field. Torin stood in the middle of the open space, watching Lena from a distance. She was practicing alone, slow movements, calm breathing. No weapons, just focus. He stepped closer. You always train like that? Lena looked up and nodded. It helps me stay centered. Helps me keep control. Control of what? He asked, though he already had an idea. Of everything, she said. Memories, emotions, the link. Torin tilted his head. The link? You mean that connection you talked about before? Yes, Lena said. What humans have, it's not just about feelings. It's like we can open a door into another being's soul. If that door opens too wide, it hurts both sides. Torin stood in silence, then asked, "Have you ever done it on purpose?" Lena didn't answer right away. Her eyes looked far away, like they were searching through old memories. "Once," she said softly, "during training, I touched the mind of a creature from Elter 5. He was aggressive, angry. But when I opened the link, he dropped to his knees. He saw my fear, my family, my whole life. He cried. And then he ran away." Torin felt a chill. "Is that why the Council is still afraid of humans?" Lena nodded. "They think we're too dangerous. Not because we kill, but because we make others feel too much." Just then, the communicator in Torin's pocket beeped. A message from Professor Core. "Come to the Council Hall immediately. Both of you." Lena and Torin looked at each other. "What now?" Torin asked. "Something big," Lena said. The Council Hall was a tall, cold building made of black stone. Inside, lights floated above a round table where 7 members of the Intergalactic Council sat. All of them were different species, some tall and thin, others round and scaled, one covered in feathers. Core stood in the center. He looked serious. "We have called this emergency session," he said, "because a new threat has appeared." The lights dimmed, and a hologram lit up in the air. It showed a dark shape moving through space. Huge, silent. "This ship is unknown," Core said. "No signals, no language. It appeared 2 days ago near the border of the Zeta systems. Within hours, it destroyed 3 ships. Was it the Varn?" One council member asked. "No," Core said. "This is something else. Something worse." Another hologram showed a transmission static filled, but a few words could be heard. "It speaks ... without speaking. It sees everything ... Then silence. The room stayed still. The fear was clear on every face. "We believe it may be a living weapon," Core said. "Something ancient. Something immune to our machines and strategies." Torin stepped forward. "What does this have to do with us?" Core turned to Lena. "We need a human." The room went cold. One of the council members stood. "You want to let them in again? After all these years?" "We don't have a choice," Core said. "Our weapons do nothing. Our shields fail. But if Lena can connect to it, maybe we can understand it. Maybe we can stop it." Another council member spoke up. "Or maybe it will destroy her mind. Or worse, she could awaken it even more." Core looked at Lena. "It's your decision." Lena took a breath. "I'll do it." Torin looked shocked. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "If we run from this, the galaxy could fall. We've hidden long enough." The council went quiet again. Then the oldest member, a thin being with glowing eyes, said, "We will allow it. But if she fails, Earth will remain banned, forever." Lena didn't flinch. Understood. Later, inside a secure room, Lena was prepared for the link. She was placed inside a meditation pod. Light sensors monitored her brain. The alien ship was still far away, but a signal had been captured. It pulsed deep and strange. Like a heartbeat in space. Torin stood next to the control board. "You don't have to prove anything, you know," he said. "I'm not doing it to prove." Lena replied. "I'm doing it to protect." Core stepped in. "Are you ready?" Lena closed her eyes. "Yes." The pulse from the alien ship was fed into the pod. Lena reached out with her mind, not like a psychic, not like a weapon, more like a door. Being opened, for a long moment, there was nothing. Then darkness, cold, a massive presence. It was not a mind, not really. It was old. It had no name, no shape. But it felt Lena, and she felt it. A wave of emotions hit her: loss, loneliness, hunger. But Lena didn't pull away. She sent back her own memories. Her family, her planet, the day she learned about the ban. The shame, The sorrow. The hope. Something shifted. The pulse stopped. Inside the pod, Lena opened her eyes. "It heard me," she whispered. "It moving." A few hours later, Kor walked into the briefing room with news. The alien ship turned and left. No more attacks, no more signals. The council met again that night. They voted silently. When they came out, Kor stood before Lena and Torin. "The council has decided," he said. "The ban on humans is lifted." Lena blinked. "It's over?" "It's just begun," Kor said. "You didn't just save a system. You changed how the galaxy sees your kind." Torin smiled at Lena. "Looks like you opened a lot more than just one mind," Lena smiled back. "One mind at a time. That's all it takes." The return of HFY. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. The human ban has been lifted. Some cheered. Others remained silent. And a few were afraid. For the first time in many years, humans were allowed to take part again in intergalactic matters. Diplomats invited Earth representatives to the council. Human students began applying to the Galactic Academy again. And everywhere, people whispered, if they ended a war without weapons, what else can they do? Lena returned to her training, but now she wasn't alone. Other students came to her, asking questions, not just about the link, but about emotions, memory, and connection. Some were curious. Some were cautious, but there were still those who hated what had happened. One evening, Torin walked into the Academy's library. The lights were dim, and two older cadets stood whispering near the wall. When they saw him, they quickly walked away. He frowned and went to the section marked Galactic History. There, he found a small folder that hadn't been there before. Inside was a handwritten message. "Humans do not belong. The last time they helped, we lost everything. Keep them out, or lose the galaxy." Torin crumpled the note. Someone in the Academy didn't trust the humans at all. Maybe more than one. He met Lena the next day and showed her the message. She didn't look surprised. "I've seen 3 like this," she said calmly. "One on my locker, one under my training mat. One slipped in my food tray." Torin looked worried. "We should report this." "We can't force people to stop fearing us," Lena said. "But we can keep showing them we're not what they think." Torin nodded. But deep down, something still didn't feel right. 2 days later, the Academy alarm went off. Red lights flashed. A siren echoed across the halls. Security breach in Sector 5. Torin ran toward the source of the alert. He reached the control center, where officers were staring at the screens. A ship had crashed just outside the dome, a small transport vessel from the far edge of the galaxy. Smoke rose from its engine, and strange symbols were carved into its hull. Kor entered the room. "Open the communication line." The screen flickered. A badly injured pilot appeared, coughing. His face was pale and tired. "They're coming. Not the ship you stopped. Something else. Something older." Kor leaned forward. "Who's coming?" "They call themselves the Empty. No voices, no minds. Not like before. The humans can't stop this one." And then static. The pilot was gone. Later, in a secret meeting, Kor spoke to the council again. "We have a new problem, worse than the last." He pointed to the decoded data from the crashed ship. It showed systems going dark one by one, whole planets silenced in hours. No explosions, no battles, just emptiness. "They drain life," Kor explained. "Not kill, not destroy, just ... erase." One council member spoke nervously. "Do the humans know?" "Not yet," Kor said. "But we may need them again. This enemy may be beyond even their reach." Another member shook their head. "We cannot risk the link again. If Lena connects to something that has no feeling, she might lose herself." "But if we do nothing," Kor said, "we lose everything anyway." Torin found Lena outside, staring at the sky. "The Empty," he said. She nodded slowly. I felt them, last night, in a dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream. What did? You feel? Nothing, she said. That's what was so terrifying. I reached out, and there was nothing there. No fear. No thoughts, just cold silence. Torrin stepped closer. What happens if you try to link with them for real? I don't know, she said. Maybe I vanish. Maybe I become like them. He was quiet for a moment, then said, You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, she replied. Because I'm the only one who can try, and maybe the only one they can hear. Or touch, even a little. Torrin clenched his fists. They don't deserve that risk from you. It's not about what they deserve, Lena said. It's about what the galaxy deserves. That night, Lena sat alone in the meditation pod again. This time, there was no signal to lock onto no voice. No message, only silence. She closed her eyes and reached out into the void. For a long time, there was nothing. Just dark space and distant stars. Then something moved, not a sound, not a voice, but a presence cold, wide, and empty. She sent a single image from her mind. Her childhood, the face of her mother, the joy of laughter. No reaction. She sent another image. Pain, hunger, the feeling of loss, still no reaction. Then she opened herself fully, letting the link go deeper than ever before. All her memories, her fears, her hope, everything poured out like light. And for one tiny second, something blinked, a flicker. Like a ripple in still water. She gasped. But then it vanished. Gone. The empty had felt her, but chose not to answer. Lena opened her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. In the council hall, the members waited. She made contact? One asked. Kor nodded. Yes, but no response. The empty are not like the others. They may not even be alive the way we understand. Another member leaned forward. Then we are doomed. Kor looked out the window where the stars stretched in all directions. Not yet. She found something. A flicker. That means there's a chance. Later, Torrin met Lena by the observation deck. Did it hurt? He asked. No, she said quietly. But it felt like falling into the dark, and knowing no one will ever catch you. Torrin didn't say anything. He simply stood beside her. She whispered. They're not just dangerous. They're lost. Whatever they were before, they don't remember anymore. And you think you can bring them back? I don't know, she said, but maybe. If I fall far enough, I can find whatever is left of them. Torrin looked at her with worry, but also respect. Then I'll fall with you. Lena smiled just a little. Then we won't be empty. The last Elion K. The sky above the Galactic Academy had turned darker than usual. A strange black mist spread slowly across the stars, almost invisible to the eye, but felt deeply in the heart. It was the sign of the empty. Across the galaxy, systems began to fade. Not explode, not burn, just disappear. Like someone erased. Them. Ships sent to investigate did not return. Signals vanished. Civilizations fell quiet. The Council called for emergency action. Defense systems were activated. Entire planets were put under lockdown. But the truth was clear. No weapon could stop what was coming. Lena stood in the meditation chamber again. This time the room was different, colder, filled with energy sensors and life monitors. Scientists and officers stood behind thick glass. Torrin stood closest, watching her with silent worry. Professor Kor entered the chamber. This is it, he said. You'll connect again. But this time, we'll push your link farther than ever. Lena nodded. Kor looked serious. If you go too deep, you might not come back. Lena smiled softly. If I don't go deep enough, no one comes back. She climbed into the pod. The lid closed. Darkness. Silence. She reached again. But this time, not like before, she didn't send only thoughts or images. She sent herself, her heartbeat, her breath, her memories, her pain, her love. Every moment she had ever lived, she let it all float into the void, and slowly, the dark began to respond. She felt it, cold, vast, empty, but something inside it moved. A tiny echo, a whisper that didn't sound like sound. Who are you? Lena answered with feelings, not words. She showed it who she was: a daughter, a student, a protector. She showed it Earth's blue skies, warm hugs, laughter, music, grief, and hope. The voice came again. We are forgotten. She felt sadness. A sadness so big it could crush stars. Long ago, we felt. Then we were broken, so we erased the feeling. And everything that felt, Lena cried. You're not broken now. You're remembering. Why do you care, little spark? Lena opened her heart even wider. Because once, they banned my people for feeling too much. They feared our empathy. But now, that same feeling might save you. We cannot be saved. Yes, you can. Let me show you. And with all her strength, Lena pulled them in, not to destroy them, but to share. Outside, alarms began to flash. Energy levels in the chamber were rising fast. She's going too far. One scientist shouted. Her neural activity is off the charts. Shut it down. Another screamed. No, Torin said firmly. Not yet. He knew what she was doing. She wasn't linking to just understand them. She was giving them a piece of humanity. Inside the link, the empty began to shift. They weren't just darkness anymore. They saw Lena's memories. And then their own. A time before the void. Before the cold. When they too had joy. When they had form and family. They remembered being alive. And suddenly, they stopped erasing. The black mist faded from the stars. Silence was replaced with light. Lena opened her eyes. She was still inside the pod. The room was silent. A soft, blue glow surrounded her. Kor and the others stared in awe. She did it. One whispered. Torin ran in and opened the pod. Lena. She looked weak, pale, but she smiled. They remembered, she whispered. They stopped. Later that day, the council met one last time. All members stood. Kor spoke first. This war was not ended with weapons or machines. It was ended with something we feared for too long: human connection. The oldest member, the one who had once voted to keep humans banned, stepped forward. We were wrong, he said. What we saw as dangerous was actually our greatest hope. The council declared a new law. No species would ever be banned. Again, for their nature, feeling is not weakness. Feeling is power. And Lena was named the first galactic emissary of empathy. Torin walked beside her through the academy gardens. So, he said, smiling, what now? We rebuild, Lena replied. We heal, and maybe we help others remember who they are. Torin nodded. The galaxy owes you everything. She shook her head. Not me, my people, my kind. They banned us because we felt too deeply. But now, they know why we had to. Torin looked at her. The real reason humans were banned, she finished the sentence, was the very reason they were needed. They stood together under the stars that now shone just a little brighter. END